What if overeating is not something that discipline or willpower or even hunger suppressing weight loss jabs can fix? What if it's something that you were born with? I got this question this week, which really hit here, and I think it will for you too. Somebody wrote in and said, I'm still overeating at times, even though I'm using a weight loss jab, and I can't understand why. I'm starting to think that I'll never be fixed. What's wrong with me? Question mark, exclamation, exclamation, exclamation mark. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to dive into that. What I want to do is help you deeply understand what is truly going on. And it goes a lot deeper than you think. So buckle up, because we're going to get to the center of the onion, and I'm going to help you truly, truly, truly understand why overeating, loss of control eating, out of control eating happens. And with that, you're going to get some clarity on how to heal the problem. And more importantly, I think, hopefully you can start beginning the journey of forgiveness. Because if you're anything like I was, and I have a feeling you are from reading that, you're probably blaming yourself. What's wrong with me? I'm putting the food in my mouth. Why can't I stop when I'm trying so hard? What is it going to take? Now you've invested a fortune in weight loss jabs, and it sounds like, they're working a little bit. You said overeating at times, not all the time. Maybe that was the previous problem, but there's times at which you find yourself continuing to overeat anyway. And I have clients who both use and don't use weight loss jabs or GLP-1s for whatever reason. So I really want to begin this live by saying there's no right or wrong, and they can be a fabulous tool. But what I've experienced through my clients is that many people who are using these jabs are infuriated because everybody says the food noise disappears, I never want to eat. And they say there's some truth to that. Not for everybody. Some people still experience food noise, but they notice there are times in which they will reach for food, even though they know the discomfort they might feel later. So we're going to dig into that. Whether you're using a weight loss jab or you're not, whether you're on a GLP-1 or you're not, this conversation is for you, because we're going to get to the heart of the thing that drives all out of control, loss of control, non-hunger eating. I can't wait to get stuck in. My name is Helen. I'm a food freedom coach, and I specialize in identifying the thing that is driving overeating when it's not to do with hunger, and helping people heal that so they can have a completely carefree, take it or leave it, eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full kind of relationship with food, no food noise, and they can just get on with their life in between. So that's what I specialize in. Is like I'm an investigative journalist doing the deep diving to figure out what is driving overeating. And here's what I've learned, is that there is a fear that you were born with that is actually at the heart of all of it. So if you've watched my masterclass, the 5-step food freedom formula, you'll know I talk about the 5 core reasons people overeat. What we're going to do today is go one level deeper than that. So just as a recap, if you haven't watched the masterclass, and if you'd like to, the link's in the description, there are 5 real triggers, real reasons that people overeat. It's not lack of willpower, it's not laziness. And this might explain some of why the Ozempics of the world are not working. So here are the 5. Very simply, diets and chronic mental restriction around food. Big driver of overeating. Second, critical or disempowering self-talk can create a sense of discomfort that needs to be numbed with food, or might even create more of the problem itself. We're not going into that now. 3, suppressing emotions, pushing emotions down with food, numbing, soothing, escaping emotions. 4, exhaustion, reaching for food when you're absolutely knackered. And 5 is just good old-fashioned habit, time, place, habit. So what we're going to talk about today is the core driver that led to 4 of the 5 reasons that you struggle with loss of control eating. And here it is. It's a fear that you were born with, and it's a fear that not many people are talking about, because I sure as well didn't hear about it when I was younger. I heard about 2 fears that we're born with, but we're actually born with 3. So the first fear that most people know about is the fear of falling. The second fear that you are born with is the fear of loud noises. And the third fear, and this is where the cookie crumbles, and it has led to every single personality and behavior trait of yours, both good, bad, and ugly, and it is the fear of abandonment. You were born with a fear of abandonment. Makes complete sense. You couldn't have been left on your own in the wild. Human beings are not capable of rearing themselves. They are wired to be hypersensitive, hyper alert for any signs that they might be left. And we are wired to, so the opposite of abandonment is to stay connected. Come hell or high water, infants, young humans are wired for connection at all costs. And what I've discovered in both my own story, if you don't know my story, I struggled with bulimia for 20 years. So I was compulsively losing control and then compensating, right? So less than ideal, big, I'm talking about it very casually now, but it was, it's a big, big thing. And maybe you don't have that struggle, and I really hope you don't. But if you're feeling out of control, it is all same. So both from my own experience and every single beautiful human being that I have the pleasure of working with as a coach, what we've rooted it down to is this fear of abandonment led to two big time beliefs. I call them the mother and father of all the negative thinking, of all the headworms. And these two core beliefs came out of that fear of abandonment. So each time, if you're struggling with food, you're going to resonate with this. Each time you experienced abandonment by caregivers, particularly parents and caregivers, but also then in time, siblings, boyfriends, girlfriends, friends, etc. Every time you experienced an abandonment, whether that was somebody leaving or rejecting you, or just a subtle emotional abandonment, that can be worse because it's so much harder to spot. In fact, now that I say it, I think it's done even more damage. Every time somebody didn't connect with you, where they withdrew their love, withdrew their connection, where connection was conditional, you experienced a nervous system shock, and your nervous system did what it needed to do. It found a way to try and get that connection back. But here's where the problem came and where the beliefs come in. When you experienced abandonments, both micro and macro, your interpretation of those abandonments, regardless of what they were and why they happened, was, I am the reason, I am the problem. You became a problem to fix. And two beliefs came out of that you have clung to hard and fast for a very long time. And they are, I am not enough. I am not thin enough, clever enough, funny enough, whatever the enough is. I am not enough. And because I'm not enough, I am not lovable. And your entire nervous system became hypersensitive around how to be enough so that you could be lovable. You need to be enough, you need to be lovable, you need to stay in the tribe. And because you thought you were the problem, regardless of what the reason was, mom and dad might have just had a bad day and were ignoring you for a bit, or they got divorced, had nothing to do with you, but you internalized it as, if I was enough, they wouldn't have abandoned me. If I was enough, they wouldn't ignore me. If I was enough, my friends wouldn't hate me. If I was enough, the boyfriend wouldn't have rejected me. If I was enough, I would have got the promotion. If I was enough, and so it goes into the rest of your life forever and ever and ever, unless we halt it and bring it back. So I am not enough and I'm not lovable. And what happens is you started to find ways to change yourself. And if we're talking about the context of the 5-step food freedom formula and the 5 core drivers of overeating that are not willpower, greediness, and laziness, we can start to see, I thought I wasn't thin enough. I went on a diet. I chronically restricted. I had to change my body. That led to overeating later. I thought it wasn't enough. I developed a highly critical mindset, constantly looking for all of the ways I was failing, not enough, constantly telling myself what I wasn't doing right so that I could do it better. There comes that critical self-talk, right? Third, I learned that when I let out certain emotions, they would be rejected. They would be ignored. They were too much. Maybe somebody was too busy to deal with them. So I interpreted it as, those emotions are not safe to express. So best I pack them all away. And food became a wonderful way of coping with emotions, of numbing emotions, of dealing with your emotions, because it didn't feel like it was a good idea to have them come out. And the fourth of the 5, and this is really going to land, the people pleaser in you was born. Because if you could just be kind enough, nice enough, funny enough, joyous enough, always making sure everybody else was happy, then you could maintain that connection. Then you would be at the very least liked, but hopefully lovable too. And if you could just do that for everybody, then you would stay safe. None of this is conscious. So the people pleaser was born, and it is exhausting being a people pleaser, Because trying to manage everybody else's emotions, trying to ensure that everybody in the whole world always loves you because of that deep fear of abandonment is absolutely exhausting. And also, you kept putting yourself last. Everybody else's need must come first. So you were constantly exhausted and reaching for food as a way to just try and get through or stay awake. At the very least, have a bit of fun and joy in a world that was full of obligations and duties for everybody else. So that fear of abandonment created two core beliefs because you internalized abandonment as you were the problem. And don't worry, all children are narcissists, so there's nothing you could have done about this. It was absolutely not your fault. We're little narcissists. We think everything is about us when we're born. And all that happened is we internalized micro and macro abandonments as we were the problem that needed to be fixed. And those two huge fears began to take hold. They started as little ideas. They turned into deeply entrenched, feel them on a cellular level, beliefs. Because if I say the words to you, you are enough. You are deeply lovable. I have a feeling that you're struggling to take that on. You're struggling to try that idea on for size. And I have a feeling that something inside you is going, oh, hell no. Maybe everybody else, maybe my friend Susie and my mom and my sister and my aunt, but I am not enough and I'm definitely not lovable. If I was, I would know it. And here's the thing that I work so deeply with all of my clients, because we must get here to the center of the onion, is to start to shake those beliefs up, to turn them into something deeply powerful, confident. I am enough, I'm lovable. Not something I think, but I feel. Because as you do that, the domino effect that spreads outwards means that you begin to deeply heal the wound that opened up, that led to the 5 things, that led to the overeating. So we can do lots of practical work around the 5, and we must. But ultimately, underneath that, everybody comes in looking for a meal plan and they walk away with a completely changed identity. From I'm the problem and I must be changed to I am a deeply enough and lovable human being. And because we are working at that level, eventually, it takes time. That's why overeating, changing decades of overeating is not something you do in 4 weeks or even 4 months. It takes time. It really does. So be kind with yourself. I hope that was helpful. I hope that helped you deeply understand the deep reason you started reaching for food. And also, it will explain why no amount of willpower will work long term, because fear will beat willpower every time. Fear is designed to keep you safe. And so long as that fear is alive in you and creating those 2 beliefs that you were not enough and you were not lovable, meanwhile, when we look at it, it had nothing to do with you whatsoever, then as long as those 2 beliefs are alive, you could well heal your relationship with food, but you may start bouncing into something else to medicate those beliefs. And that's why we got to get to the center of the onion eventually. So I took you there today. I hope it wasn't too much, and I hope it hasn't overwhelmed you. If anything, I'm really hopeful that helping you truly understand what led to the overeating. At the center of the onion was those beliefs, and then there was dominoes and ricochets that led to overeating being the last in a long line of trouble. And overeating, that's why I always say it's the symptom, not the cause. And this, if I'm honest, is the root cause. It's the root cause of your best behaviors and your worst. So we can do some adjustments to those beliefs. So you can still be the person who shows up in the way that you love, but minimize the things that you really don't enjoy. Those parts of you, and overeating is probably just one of them, and probably the biggest one that you're currently focused on. Otherwise, why would you be watching this? So now does it make sense why willpower and discipline can't outwit fear in the end? It can work initially, but it doesn't in the end. And also why a medication can't change that, because it can't change the wiring, that fear of abandonment. And a medication certainly doesn't change beliefs. It just takes away hunger. So it's helpful. It can be an unbelievable tool. In fact, the clients I work with who are using GLP-1s, in a session on Tuesday, we do a group coaching call, and 2 of them said they have discovered that a GLP-1 has actually made it even more obvious where there's deeper healing, because when they're eating that non-hunger way, it is even more clear to them that it must be because one of these 2 beliefs has been woken up in them. And so we continue to do the work to reroute those beliefs, to start creating kindness, enoughness, maybe not love and all of that. You're not ready for that yet. That's okay. Let's just start with enoughness, just enough, like enough. Doesn't have to be amazing. Okay, deal. So let's summarize this whole thing. You are not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. In fact, this all manifested out of something that was deeply right in you and it is wired into you. You had no choice. This is not your fault. It's just a series of circumstances that led you to believe that you were the problem to be fixed. And our work is to undo that belief at a cellular level, because you were not born with a food problem. You were born with a fear of abandonment. And as we heal the wounds that created, the beliefs that created, we can get you back to a place where you feel truly free with food. Absolutely be able to eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full, and not think about it in between. That's where we want you back again. So you're not broken. If anything, you're deeply unbroken. You are deeply functional. You are meant to have that fear. It's just no longer serving you. Okay. Have a wonderful Freedom Friday, you glorious freedom fighter. I hope that was helpful for you and for anybody else watching this video. I would love you to smash the like button if you did find it valuable. And boy, oh boy, if you have somebody who is struggling with overeating or is using a GLP-1 and is still feeling out of control, please share that with them. I think it's going to give them such a deep sense of forgiveness, because that's what I really want you to begin to feel. This is not my fault. It's my responsibility to do some healing around this, but it is not my fault. All right, let's wrap up that Freedom Friday. I hope you have a wonderful weekend ahead. This was a big, deep one. Usually we can answer questions that are a lot more in the moment. So if you have something coming up next weekend, if you have a family situation or a dinner that you're going to, a party or whatever, or just a day-to-day struggle with food that you would love a little bit of help with, then please get hold of me and send me your struggle, your question, whatever it is, and I'll do my best to tackle it on the live. Of course, you're welcome to join me any Friday. Jump in the comments, watch it live. You can comment and ask more questions while we're live. I'll make sure I keep my eyes on the comments to see if anything pops up for you. And as always, have a wonderful Freedom Friday. It's been an honor serving you. I love you. Look after yourself. Let's do this. I will see you next Friday for more freedom for the weekend ahead.